I'd like to clear something up. Many people are saying that Mark Carney is a genius because he aligned 40 countries to defeat Trump. This is either a lie or a complete misunderstanding of what actually happened. Now, here are the facts. In February of 2026, multiple news outlets reported that Canada was leading discussions to link the European Union's 27 member states with the 12 economies of the CPTPP, the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. The goal? It was simply to create a framework for rules of origin and supply chain cooperation. That's it. It wasn't a trade agreement. It's not a formal alliance. It's not a unified bloc. It's literally just a framework for discussions. Carney didn't sign anything. He didn't finalize a deal. He didn't defeat Trump. He convened meetings. The EU official quoted in the report said the proposal is not currently a top priority. Japan said that the outcomes may take some time. So this is not a 40-nation alliance. This is a PowerPoint presentation. Meanwhile, what did Carney actually sign? On January 14th, 2026, we've said this before, Carney visited Beijing and signed 5 cooperation memoranda with China. Okay, so he agrees to import Chinese EVs. He reduces the tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. He calls China a strategic partner. So let me just get this straight. The 40-nation alliance is a proposal for future talks. The China deal is signed, sealed, and delivered. So which one sounds like a real strategy to you? So let's talk about the DONROE doctrine and why geography matters. I'm going to explain why Carney's pivot to China is not just economically foolish, it's geopolitically dangerous, and it comes down to one word: geography. There is a concept called the DONROE doctrine. It's a combination of Donald Trump's name and the Monroe Doctrine. It's the idea that the United States views the entire Western Hemisphere as its sphere of influence. No outside powers allowed, full stop. The U.S. National Security Strategy, released in December 2025, makes this explicit. The U.S. intends to deny non-hemispheric competitors the ability to position forces or own or control strategically vital assets anywhere in the Americas. This is not speculation. This is official U.S. policy. So here's what that means for Canada. The U.S. will not tolerate a China proxy sitting on its northern border, period. China has openly said it wants to resist the DONROE doctrine alongside Canada. Chinese scholars have explicitly framed this as resisting U.S. intervention together. Carney is aligning Canada with a country whose stated goal is to weaken U.S. influence in the hemisphere, while the U.S. is actively fortifying its hemisphere against outside powers. I want to be clear with you. Canada is becoming a geopolitical outlier, and geography does not forgive. You can't move Canada closer to China. We're not in Asia. We share the world's longest undefended border with the United States. Our economy is integrated with theirs. Our supply chains run north-south, not east-west. Our security depends on NORAD and NATO. So geography alone tells you that what Carney is doing makes zero sense. You do not antagonize the superpower that shares your border while cozying up to the superpower on the other side of the planet. It's completely nonsensical and dangerous. So let's talk about the consequences, because I'm going to tell you what happens next, because Carney just didn't make a bad trade deal. Okay, it's worse. He set off a chain reaction that will affect every Canadian. So number one, the U.S. is not going to trust Canada with intelligence, full stop. The Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, the most powerful intelligence sharing network in the world, is already showing cracks. Canada and the UK have both signaled they're willing to rethink their relationship with China. Trump has warned both countries that dealing with Beijing is very dangerous. The Five Eyes was built on trust, and that trust is now eroding. So when your allies start cozying up to the adversary, you stop sharing your most sensitive secrets. Canada will be the first country cut out of critical intelligence streams, not because the U.S. is being mean, but because we proved we can't be trusted. Now, number two, Trump may pull the U.S. out of NATO, and he's already threatening it over Hormuz. Trump has explicitly warned NATO allies that if they don't help secure the Strait of Hormuz, it will be very bad for the future of NATO. He has repeatedly said NATO is a one-way street and questioned whether allies would ever defend the U.S. So this is real. Canada refused to help at Hormuz. That is on the record. Trump will not forget that. Okay? The U.S. will not forget that. If the U.S. pulls out of NATO or significantly reduces its commitment, Canada loses the security umbrella it has relied on for 75 years. And for what? A strategic partnership with the country that detained our citizens for 1,006 days? More tariffs, more taxes, more economic pain. Let's talk about it. The U.S. has already threatened 100% tariffs on Canadian goods if Canada deepens its China ties. Democratic senators are urging Trump to use the UMSCA review to tighten restrictions on Chinese EVs through entering Canada. The message from Washington is clear. Align with us or you're going to pay the price. Those tariffs will not be paid by corporations. They will be paid by us, the taxpayers. Higher prices on everything. Jobs lost in export industries. A weaker dollar. The Canadian government, already running deficits, will have no choice but to raise taxes to cover the shortfall. Canada becomes economically alienated and strategically isolated. The U.S. is building semiconductor fabs in Arizona. It's locking down supply chains with Taiwan. It's consolidating North American energy independence. And Canada is building Chinese cars that can't cross the border. So the U.S. is not going to sit idle while Canada is building a China proxy operating next door. So we can expect tighter border restrictions, exclusion from U.S. supply chains, and a gradual decoupling of the integrated North American economy that has made both countries prosperous for generations. And most importantly, we lose our voice on the world stage. So Canada has always punched above its weight, not because we are powerful, but because we were trusted. We were the honest broker, the reliable ally, the country that could talk to everyone because everyone knew we were aligned with the West. That reputation is now destroyed. When someone like Carney travels to China and makes something and calls it a new world order and a strategic partnership, that's gone. Canada's not going to be chosen to mediate anything. No one will take our diplomatic initiatives seriously. We'll be ignored or worse, treated as an adversary. And I want to talk about the ideology question. And if you've stayed this long in the video, thank you. But here's what this is really about, in my opinion. This is not about economics. This is not about trade diversification. This is not about aligning with 40 nations. This is about ideology. Mark Carney is a self-described globalist. He believes in transnational governance, climate-first policy, and reducing national sovereignty in favor of international institutions. China is the world's largest authoritarian state, but it also believes in global governance structures that weaken American dominance. Number one goal. Carney and China share an ideological alignment. Both want to reduce U.S. influence in the world. Carney wants a multipolar order. China wants a multipolar order. The U.S. does not. This is why Carney signed that China deal. Not because it makes economic sense, because it aligns with his worldview. But here's the problem. Not one Canadian voted for this. Where in Carney's campaign platform did he say he would partner with China? Where did he tell Canadians he would sign strategic agreements with a country CSIS calls a top security threat? Where did he mention that he would risk our NATO alliance, our intelligence sharing, and our trade relationship with the U.S. all to cozy up to Beijing? He didn't, because he knew Canadians would never vote for it. This is not democracy. This is ideology imposed from above. And the people who enabled it, the conservative MPs who shamefully crossed the floor to hand Carney a majority without a by-election, are just as responsible. So let me bring this home. The U.S. is building the 21st century economy on American soil, semiconductor fabs, supply chain dominance, energy independence, and they are doing it while fortifying their hemisphere against outside powers. Canada is doing the opposite. We are cozying up to the one power the U.S. is trying to exclude. We are risking our intelligence, our NATO security, and our trade relationship with our largest partner, all for a strategic partnership.